This can move out of the shop, man.
Nah, man.
It's calm.
The whole point of that is so we can snack on it.
Yeah.
How about I just put it on the table? It's clean.
And plus, it like every
Yeah,
now and again you
what
need that.
You don't know what they've
It's
been doing
right,
on
yeah,
this
table,
table,
yeah.
man.
Yo, bro.
It's calm, man.
People are gonna be watching this, bro.
They're
They're gonna be
These
commenting like,
tramps.
"Did you
Could have
disinfect
got a
it?"
plate from the kitchen, man.
It doesn't matter. It's all good. It's all good.
What is the purpose of this being?
Bro, it actually looks quite nice in the shot.
I know my wife for a fact is gonna say, "Did you eat those off the table?"
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just tell her, yes, I did.
That's equal. It's just us, look.
We can start, by the way. I don't mind leaving this conversation in.
Yo, wagwan.
Stop moving around.
Why? What difference
Because
does that make?
you're going like this and left to right on the mic. You should know about these panning.
No, my mouth is staying
Nah, it's not.
here. Yes, it is.
Because I
Trust
can hear you
me.
in the audio.
Trust me. I'm number one pon the mic. I know how it works.
Okay. Let me. Oh yeah, we're doing the intro at the end.
Yeah, let's
So,
do it at the
yeah,
end.
let's,
So we don't really need to introduce it. We can go straight into it.
Well, let me just clean my nose.
Jeez.
I might have to leave these cuts in. I have to leave these bloopers in. I've got so many sick bloopers from my start of the podcast and ending of the podcast.
What do you do about your constant nose running?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, alhamdulillah, it goes on a bit of a pause whilst I'm...
Drips into his mouth and he just swallows it up like the man he is. He takes it like a man.
Oh, Trello. Let me open
I
Trello.
don't know, when the camera starts, I feel like there's like, I don't know how I look in it. I don't know if there's something.
Yeah, I don't know either.
You're a
Like,
married man. You don't need to look good.
my hair might be popping out of the thingy. I've not
Doesn't
washed this
matter.
hat. I've not washed this hat since I bought it.
Yeah, looks it.
Like a
The
bit-
guy that puts sweets on the table. I'm not surprised.
From Azaha.com, and the website's not working anymore. All right, let's go. I don't know how to start this one actually, AJ.
Just started casually, man.
Because you stop tuning into the mic, man.
Why?
Because it's going pachak pachak. You can't hear.
Bachak, bachak.
You can't hear yourself.
I'm
can.
eating with my mouth closed and it still picks up.
Yes,
Okay.
these are sensitive mics.
I finished
they're
eating now
expensive.
anyway. Bachak, bachak.
ये काफी प्राइसी माइक्स थी, आपको पता है. जैसे हमने इस पे बजट डाला ना, आपको पता है ये हमें काफी इन्होंने सेट बैक किया.
Is this for Desi pod or am I missing something?
Nah, it's alright. You understand Urdu, so we can do that. Yeah, we've decided to talk about perception. I kind of coughed whilst I said that. We decided to talk about perception.
Why is it important to talk about perception? That is the key here. Why is it important?
Are you asking me? Or
I'm
asking
asking everyone.
yeah.
Why is it important? Why
'Cause
is
we-
perception important
well,
to you?
we deal with it day to day. It's every day. Like my perception in front of you now, it matters. My perception at home, it matters. My perception at work,
Yeah.
it matters.
Do you know what? A lot of the episodes that we actually record, perception ties into it a lot.
Mm.
And there's a lot of like even when we're recording episodes, right? I might say something, but you guys might not be comfortable saying it because you're worried about the perception. I don't know. Let's say your family will have or certain different people, and that's why perception's important to talk about, because perception is how our relationships with other people essentially work.
Yeah. I'd go as far as to say perception, depending on like what kind of perception you have of others and how others perceive you, your career, your where you progress to and stuff, that is dependent on perception and how you perceive the world around you and how people perceive you. I feel like it plays a big part in how far you get in life.
Yeah.
So-
Well, it goes without saying. You'll have different behaviors in front
Around
of
different people.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's completely normal. Like for example, if you went home today and you're sitting with your family, even though knowing your family, you're quite open with them. You're quite chilled out, right?
Yeah.
But certain things you say, certain thing like the way you behave, it will be a lot different to how you are with your boys.
Yeah, 100%. Or when I'm at work.
Yeah. And just like that, when I, for example, in front of my family, a lot more like, if I'm being real, I'm just like real. I've got my shalwar on, I got like a white t-shirt on, and I don't care how fat I look in it. Do you know what I mean? And that's the perception I'm willing to expose at home. But would I do that outside or in my friend's house, even if I've lived there for a week? Probably not.
Yeah.
I reckon you're probably that comfortable with me.
And probably not. Probably not.
I've seen a lot.
That's because we've traveled together.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, people you travel
But
with.
that takes time. That takes time and trust, and that's why you've got that comfort. So I guess comfort kind of ties in to perception as well, which is why when it comes to like other people, I personally, from experience, I lived long enough for 27 years that I've had on this planet. What I've realized is when I've let certain people get too comfortable with me, they've taken advantage of that. Like I've had people that maybe I've just met and I've opened up to them. I've given them a sense of comfort, and that sense of comfort has made them say things or made jokes and stuff that I would take offensively. It's like, what have I done to make you feel like you can say that to me? Like we're not on that level. And yeah, over time I've just learned that I can't be like that with everyone.
Yeah. I think for me it's been a little bit of a challenge, like the way I am at work and the way I am at home. I try my best to like differentiate how I am at work and how I am at home, because sometimes when you're at work, you're sort of playing a game. Sort of you're in a circle of people where there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of people who you need to impress. There's some people that you need to kind of like put in their place. And
Sorry,
stuff.
which bit are you talking about?
So I'm saying that like I have had a challenge with perception and trying to, like perception at home and perception at work, for example, separating them, because like I've noticed that in the past where the way I am at work, and I'm quite like, people will describe me as quite, I wouldn't say ruthless, I would say
Ruthless, yeah.
Not ruthless. I don't know the right word. Like
firm.
Yeah, at work I'm quite like, it's work basically. I'm not there to make friends basically.
Okay.
So I get a lot of I feel like it's played a big part in my progression at work. But then there's been times where I've come home and my wife is like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm trying to play the same games, the same politics at work, at home, but
Don't you have that balance where you can switch off? You can leave that attitude.
Well, I've learned to do that. I've learned to do that now. But it's a weird one, because like, when we say like who you are, like who am I basically? Who is the real me? I would say that the real you is the person you are around your family, obviously, or wherever you're most comfortable.
I'll give you a good example of perception actually. It's in the workplace. This is a workplace example. So I worked at this place, right? Where I worked amongst white middle class men predominantly. It was a small company, but that was most of the people that I worked with were middle class white men. Anyway, I came into work one day, maybe I had like a high fade haircut, like an urban kind of haircut, and my sales director at the time, the first thing he said to me was, "That's a bit of a gangster haircut."
Yeah.
But it's perception, right?
Yeah.
He got that perception from looking at my haircut. Well, when in reality it is just a haircut.
Yeah. I mean, I've got that as well. Like where somebody's made a joke about, sometimes we use slang and we say like, "Man don't like mugs" or something. Like, we use like different kinds of slang.
Yeah.
Or we kind of grew up on that kind of slang. It's just, and then when you in the workplace, when you hear people taking like, making fun out of it, there's a little bit of you that is like, like it feels a bit offended, like why are you taking the piss?
It's interesting you mentioned about the haircut thing, because I change my haircut or what grade I get it at based on the client.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, it sounds a bit strange, but if the client's like more if they're more like young, vibrant, if it's that kind of environment, or if the office is like their white, crispy glass doors, then yeah, I'd go in with like a 0.5 or a 1. But if it's like the current client I'm at, they're like it's a manufacturing client, so they're a bit like, they're a bit traditional in that sense, slightly older people working, then I'll probably go for like a 1.5 or a 2 on the side. And I don't mind leaving it looking a bit overgrown at times. Whereas if I went into the young one, yeah, because everyone's like, suited, booted, I sort of morph into that environment kind of thing.
Why do we dress a certain way when we go to work?
Well, number one is probably policy, and then.
But it's to give that perception that we're serious about what we do. If you come in your tracksuit, then you don't look professional. You don't look like you're serious.
Oh yeah,
about
of course. But there are some industries, like the creative industry, you wear whatever you want. But I've still noticed people don't necessarily go in tracksuits. Tracksuits.
Let's say jeans, because tracksuits, I don't think anyone ever.
Yeah, I don't think, even in the creative industry, you can wear whatever you want, whatever brings out your element, yeah? But
yeah, I mean, it depends on your industry, right? If your industry is client facing or B2B or whatever, then you have to dress a certain way because you're dealing with people outside of a business that you have to 100%. Give a certain perception
and especially, so with the client I'm on now, because they're outsourcing their work to my company, for example, I have to represent my company. Yeah, I'm not necessarily representing the client. I'm representing my company. So even though they dress casually, I have to and I want to go in a suit.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And that's the perception I want to give to them. That look, us guys are like, we're consultants. We dress like consultants. We're top notch kind of thing.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Even in sport, perception is important. The football kits, the color of the football kits, and stuff like that. I forgot who it was, but an ex-manager or ex-footballer or someone was doing an interview, and they were talking about a team. I think maybe it was AC Milan or another team, and they said when they saw those players wear those colours, they found it intimidating.
That's interesting.
So, like all these things, they matter.
Yeah. Touching on that, I just remembered something. Do you remember last year? So Man City have been getting. Is Twitter the swear word?
You've already said it.
Okay. Man City have been getting abolished by Liverpool in the past years. Yeah, we've been absolutely thrashing them at Anfield. And so what they done? They used to come in their blue kit, right? The sky blue kit. And last year, I think it was we drew 1-1 with them, or it was a draw. It might have been a 0-0 draw. They came in their darker jersey, like completely different outfit to what they wear usually, just to take away like the bad, like the thrashings they got in the other kit, and just to like provide a bit more of a
a rebrand.
Like a rebrand, like a different color team, a different team that's coming to Anfield, and we're different basically. You can't beat us like you did before.
Yeah.
But this season they changed it up back to sky blue, and then they got thrashed again.
Yeah, with my team, Man United, right? On match days when the players come in, you're laughing, but they're struggling at the moment. But we'll be back. Before a match day, when they come in, they wear suits. Traditionally, they've always worn even suits, and they wear that to what's it called? To something. The culture. What word am I looking at? What word am I thinking of? Something to
I don't know what you're talking
about. I've lost my
train of thought. It's fine, you can think
about it. But basically to emphasize the culture of the club, basically emphasize the tradition.
See.
So it's a tradition. Tradition. I'm on one today. A tradition to wear that suit because it
represents the stature of the club.
It represents the stature of the club. That wasn't the word that I was looking for. I had the word in my head, which basically it combines all their core values. Basically, that's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's like, imagine there's like a mob of people, that are coming to hurt you on two sides, and you're in the middle, and one mob is wearing pink, and they're both equally like in number and stuff. One mob is wearing pink. You know what? One mob is wearing dresses, all of them, even the men, and and one mob is like balaclavas, blacked up. You're obviously gonna run away from the
balaclavas,
exactly. So it's like it's all about perception.
Exactly. And before we came into the studio today, you see that monopod I got where the cameras stood. Yeah, you know when it closed down,
Yeah.
when it's all shut and compact, it looks like a police baton.
Yeah.
So I went into the pharmacy, yeah, and I had it in my hoodie thingy here, and some guy like he looked at me strange, and there was another guy looking at me for quite a while, and then I realized like, oh, it might be this thing, and the guy goes to me, you know, that looks quite dodgy, right? And then in my head I was thinking, maybe if I had the legs open, it would look like a tripod, and they wouldn't be slightly threatened about it. Maybe
Yeah.
if it was like a light blue color, maybe if it looked a bit more like a selfie stick, or if it was like pink or something in the exact same design,
Yeah.
they would be cool with it. But
Yeah.
just because it
Yeah.
was black and it had the rubber grip kind of thing, and the stuff hanging out at the end, it looked like a police baton, and it made
Yeah.
people feel a bit threatened.
When I want to confront someone and I want to like intimidate them a bit, right? I had a bad experience. So I Airbnb let one of my rooms, right? I had a bad experience. I had this young person stay, and they basically messed up the place, and I wanted to confront them about it, right? So I dressed up in a hoodie and a tracksuit, black hoodie, black tracksuit, just to confront them, just because if I went like this, for example,
Yeah.
maybe they wouldn't have been intimidated, but I went in to intimidate them,
Yeah.
and it worked. And things like that do work. The way that you dress, the way that you
100%.
speak, the way
Yeah.
that you act.
Bro,
All
it's
of
like in EastEnders episodes, whenever they want, like, for example, Martin, usually he'd wear that leather jacket, nice bit of fur and that, it'll
Yeah.
dress okay, yeah? But when he was starting to do that stuff with Ben, he was wearing a hoodie, some dark leather jacket, and it basically made him look a certain way, which changed his character.
Yeah.
And they do that all the time.
But what do you think about like changing character? So like, would you say that, because I have different characters that I play in the workplace, on client site, in different situations, and I've had to. I don't like going out of my own character, but it feels like it was like a necessity to create these characters to progress. So what do you think about having different?
I think that's fine. Personally, like on a client engagement, I've sometimes played the role of an engagement manager. Sometimes I'm just a normal consultant there. So if my role says I'm something, I'll probably change my character, and I do change my character to match that role. Do you know what I mean?
I'm like a, is it a chameleon? Is it chameleon?
yeah.
Yeah. Chameleon. Do you know what? There used to be a Pokemon called Charmander, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm
Oh,
thinking
he
of.
was my favorite. What was his dad's name? The one that used to fly? Not his
not
dad.
his dad,
That's
bro.
not his dad. His
That's
evolved.
Charizard.
Charizard. Yes.
His dad's name.
Anyway, I'm like a chameleon in a sense where I'm different with different people. Like even if it's individuals, I'll be different with everyone. I don't know. I'm just used to that. I think maybe because there's an element of emotional intelligence, which I think I have a high level of. There's some people that you have to act a specific way just to cater to their personalities, and there's other people you have to act a certain way to cater to their personalities. Like I've got a lot of siblings, right? I might have one sibling that's a little more sensitive than another sibling, so I'd have to talk to them differently in order to get my message through.
Yeah.
And I'm like that with people outside of my family as well, and I've learned to do that over the years, and I think that comes
generally,
with experience.
that's just the way you deal with people, really. Like football managers, managers at the workplace, employers, they treat their understudies, not the understudy, their
Employees.
the people they're
Staff,
managing,
people they're managing,
this is why it's called man management, for example, because you do it per person. It's like some people, like for example footballers, some need to be treated in a certain way, others need to be treated in a different way, so you have to change your, like, it's just the way you deal with people.
Yes, it's like when I got my first job after graduating, it was a very small company, so the culture was very like, they were quite close knit. So I was able to like learn a lot of things and be myself, if you know what I mean. How I am at home, I could like chat to them and stuff, and then, you know, they would correct me in the right place, whatever. But then when I moved into like bigger companies, more corporate kind of companies, I realized that it's not gonna cut it. Like you can't be. I couldn't be myself. I couldn't be the way I was at home. I couldn't be the way I was in my previous company. So I saw like what all the way the senior guys were, and I thought I might not be able to like have their credentials or their knowledge, but if I was to just replicate a little bit of their personality, a little bit, like just the way they handle clients and stuff. So I done that, and like people's perception of me, even though they probably had like 10 years plus experience. People's perception of me was, I'm quite capable. I've probably got, years and years of experience, which is why I was able to like land contracts and stuff that typically young people don't really tend to land. And I think that was all down to perception and how I presented myself to someone.
It's how you carry yourself as well. Yeah. A number of times, like in university, for example, when I was doing the whole PAXOC thing, when I was chairing that, my perception, like I feel like sometimes I feel like, and it's one of my regrets as well, that I really didn't get to live my university life how I actually really wanted to, because I had to carry myself in a certain way because of leading that large of a society, for example. And it's the same with like your different circle of friends. So if you've got an older circle of friends, you're going to behave in a different way. You're going to have more mature conversations.
Do you think you can have friends in your workplace? Your colleagues?
I tend to separate emotion from the workplace, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's a difficult one, man, because I see what you mean. Because I've like in the inductions, when I joined the grad scheme initially, we went on some inductions, and I met some people from there that I'd probably call my friend at the time. But as time has progressed, you've been in different locations and stuff, that relationship kind of wears away. So I imagine in the workplace, unless you're in the same place every single day and you start to connect with people, you start finding similar, for example, personality traits or similar interests, you start hanging out with them. Otherwise it's very difficult. If you're not, like, if I'm 9 to 5 every day with a person, Monday to Friday, I'm probably gonna make 1 or 2 friends, man. It happened in like when I was interning in Amsterdam. One of the other guys, he started liking football, so he liked football, and so we kind of built a little bit of a friendship where we'd go and watch games, like Ajax games. So if you're working regularly with someone, you can develop a friendship. Saying that, when I interned in Birmingham for a recruitment firm, I made a friend through there. I was only there for it was only a 3-month internship. But that guy, I'm still friends with today, Imran. So,
I don't know him.
Oh, you know the guy I was telling you about, the hedge guy with the shoulder injuries?
Yeah.
So he's going to be a future guest on the pod. But I'd call him my friend now.
Touching on your friends point, when you said different circle of friends, different ages and stuff like that, for me it's different. I think I'm mostly me, probably around 90% me when I'm with my friends, just because with my character or me truly being me, there has to be like a trust element. Like I have to open myself up, and I feel like with people I trust, I wouldn't be friends with people I don't trust, if you know what I mean. I'd open myself up, so I'm me, like fully.
But there's different variations of friendship as well. Some people you have like a deeper friendship, right? Like, so with me, you, Suf, for example, because we go back so many years, we've got more of a deeper friendship. Like, you know things about me and I know things about you that your other circle of friends, they don't know about you.
That's why I wouldn't actually call them friends.
No,
I don't have friends like that though. Literally all my friends are close friends and that's it. I don't have anyone outside of that circle.
Okay.
I don't have multiple groups of friends.
I mean, some people are quite sociable and they like to, they can make friends, but
you even said like when you were in uni, you didn't make that many friends, so you've always kept one circle of friends, right?
So we have the circle that we have. I've got that circle of friends. I have some friends in Brighton as well. And those are good brothers. They're very close friends to me as well. And to be honest, if they weren't in Brighton, let's say if they were in Reading, I would have introduced them to my other friends and then they would have been in that circle as well. If you look at our circle of friends, like my cousins are in my circle of friends as well, because it's like all my friends should be friends. Like we all introduced each other to one another, and that's because that circle is a circle that I can be open with. It's not like I have this circle that I'm open with, but another circle here. It's not like that. I mentioned my Brighton friends because obviously none of you guys know them. But if they were closer, if they were more local, 100% you'll know them. Because, you know, when we chill out, when we go to London or when we go out to dinner or whatever, I would have invited them as well. But location
But
makes it
I-
Mine's
makes it
completely
difficult.
different,
Yeah.
man. So I've got a different circle of friends for certain types of motives.
You got friends for holidays. And
For holidays, that thankfully I've been like that center point where okay, if I go on this holiday, I can sort of select which. group we
your
can
other
go.
friends are your uni friends, though, right?
Uni. I got the Oxford friends. Well, you lot count as that because we went same school and that.
Nah, I'm not an Oxford friend.
Actually, yeah.
I don't represent Oxford.
No, but I met you in Oxford, right?
At once upon a
Yeah.
time you did.
Yeah, once
heavily.
upon- yeah.
Nah, I never represented Oxford.
Whatever, man. That's
Cali
another
is
debate.
massive.
But yeah, I met you in Oxford, so I'll always call you like my Oxford friend.
But you know what? I like to the perception I like to have no, the perception I like to put out of work colleagues and stuff is a little bit of a mystery. Like I don't want them to know me.
Yeah,
I don't wanna be friendly with
100%.
And I feel like it's worked quite well. And in all honesty, yeah,
Why?
because like I can play. I don't want to say play games, but I can like alter their perception depending on my needs.
Yeah, but why would you want to do that? Why? What makes you
progress.
want to do that?
He's trying to get his
progress.
job done.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my job done, and
See-
I want you hear this all the time.
Yeah.
In these like cheesy in like commercials and that like was it perceive, believe, achieve, conceive, believe, achieve, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like become what you want to be, then you will become that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't follow that to the T, but it's like in my experience, if I show myself to be a contractor with my own company, and like they might think that I'm really well off and I've been doing this for like tens of years, they're gonna speak to me different, and they are, and that's how it works.
100%. I feel similarly in the workplace as well, but the reason why I can't be myself is because of my background and where I come from. I come from humble beginnings. I come from working class family. So when I'm amongst people that don't come from working class families, like I gave that middle class example, I feel like I don't belong here.
Yeah.
Like we go to Shoreditch in London,
Yeah.
full of businesses, full of people in suits, very fast. I go there and honestly, I have so much anxiety just because I feel like I'm in a place
You
where
know
I
what?
don't belong.
Yeah. So I used to have that as well. You know, when you're like, an example is a year back, there was like a Christmas lunch or something. Yeah. It was for a company that was quite so it was for a really big company, and I had to go to a safari in near Birmingham. And so I drove into the safari, and there was like an underground cellar thing, and it was like a posh ball thing where people were wearing tuxedos and like ball gowns and all that stuff, and they had waiters with like caviar. Have you ever had caviar?
I haven't had caviar, but what you're talking about is a masquerade ball, yeah? Are you talking about where they?
No, they weren't
it's
wearing
the standard ball, yeah.
It was just like
Okay,
it was,
fine.
and they were like really dressed up, and the jewelry, you could tell like they were like expensive jewels and stuff, and these were all like contractors. Obviously I've only been doing this for about a year. These guys have been doing it all their lives, so they are going to be quite well off. But previously, where I've had anxiety, where I've sat for a meal and I didn't know how to use a knife and fork, like honestly, I've I've been in team lunches in the beginning of my career where I sat down to eat with them and I literally don't know how to use a knife and fork.
How early was this?
This was like my first or second job. But
In England? Yeah.
In England, yeah.
That's a bit mad.
But that I converted that anxiety. So this one that I talk about with the ball and everything, when I went there, I was what they want. I showed them what they want to see.
So
if
how
you know
did
what I
you
mean.
eat a soup? Oh no, you used the
The
spoon,
soup,
not a
yeah,
knife
yeah.
and fork.
But yeah, so like I went there and there was people, they were eating caviar and
That's
stuff. I
funny.
mean, who the hell eats fish eggs and caviar? Like obviously that's a delicacy, but to me it's
You
like
eat roti
yeah,
silent. You're not used to no caviar.
exactly. So, but I had to like move around. When I walked into the room, I had to like assess who's there and kind of like play a little chess game in my head. Like, okay, so this is that person. Okay, I need to go and speak to this person about something.
Bro, even
Plant
the way
there.
you eat, man, around certain people, it's
Yeah.
for me, it's so different.
When I'm at home, I'm like proper like.
yeah.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
wife's like, you eat like a child, yeah. But when I'm eating with my work colleagues or someone, yeah, or I'm at like some lunch, like you were at or a ball or whatever, I'm just like proper like knife and fork,
Yeah.
proper like
I
careful,
have this thing,
proper
yeah.
like
They eat burgers. They
Napkin
eat
here.
burgers, but they cut the burger
Yeah.
with the,
No, okay.
which is alien to me.
That's interesting because you know how Ibi has that sweat thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I get more of a runny nose when I'm eating something spicy, yeah. So if I'm sat like in front of like important people, I'll deliberately order a milder meal. So if we went say Nando's or something, I'll get like a mild chicken or like a what's the one medium medium chicken and
lemon and herb.
Yeah, lemon and herb. And if I'm going somewhere like in front of someone, if I'm eating a burger in front of someone who I've maybe not met before, who I'm not that comfortable with, I'm eating it with a knife and fork, bro. There is no way I'm putting that near my mouth.
100%. And if you've got a beard as well, things can get stuck in your beard. So I always have a tissue, and after every bite, I'm like wiping my beard.
And you know when I eat salani, for example, outside in an Indian restaurant, a lot of the times, bro, after each navala with people that I'm not comfortable with, we're just there for a meal, I'd wipe my hands because I don't want that haldi going in my nails. So I have the naan, have a nawala, wipe my mouth. You know how Gore do with their little napkin thing, the cloth napkin. Do that with the across the mouth and everything.
I do.
It's so frustrating because I want to enjoy the food. I don't want to be thinking about. Do you know what I mean?
I think things like this as well, they stop me sometimes from working at my best because the kind of job that I do, I deal with different people, like C-level people, directors of big enterprise businesses, and obviously they're posh people, right? Middle class people, higher class, whatever you want to call them.
Definitely upper class, yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes when I'm speaking to them, I feel some kind of intimidation, not like an intimidation, like I'm scared of this person, but I'm worried about what they'll think of me because I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's weird, but that stops me from working at my best.
You know, one thing that I've done to stop that kind of anxiety is eye contact. And like, if you're speaking to someone and you look at their eyes and like look at them like through them, basically, there's a lot that you can read and there's a lot that they can see. And some people actually they get a little bit intimidated of you. And that's a good thing. So you're not trying to scare them or anything, but they're kind of like, okay, this guy hasn't broken eye contact. And I think psychologically you get a bit like, I respect this person. So I do that quite a bit. Even with my managers and stuff, I look at them until they look away, and this is something that I've picked up.
But it's a process. You have to train yourself to do that over time. You have to keep doing it, and gradually it becomes natural.
You're a bit of a freak.
No, I blink. No. I don't stare at them like that.
Yeah, because
you don't have a contest.
I always make eye contact as well, but I have to take some breaks. Otherwise, I can literally feel the client feeling like a bit intimidated.
It's alright.
In my position, I don't want them to feel like that because I'm there to help them with a solution, for example. Yeah,
but they also, in that intimidation or whatever,
they
will rely on you.
I need to know everything from them. So I don't want them to be thinking about, I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. They need to be comfortable for them to give me all the details of, if I'm doing a transformation, they need to be able to tell me everything, yeah? And if I'm making them uncomfortable, they're going to probably forget some things or be thinking a bit.
I would say that if anything, it would make them think a little bit more.
Not in my experience, man.
So if you try it, just try it with like a low
if I try that with my next if I go in on Monday and I try that, she'll be like, he's changed over the weekend.
No, it's not. I'm not. When I say eye contact, say I'm talking to you right now, and we're having a conversation, and it's not weird because we're having a conversation.
I think if you're this close with a stranger, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is a bit weird. But I learnt that off Mike Tyson, and it's weird because that was the first point of contact with this little method or whatever, because he used to say that, you know, he used to look at his opponent in the eyes and he used to know whether he's already won the fight before the fight.
Well, they say your eyes are the windows to your soul, right?
Exactly, yeah. So then after I saw that, I heard that from Mike Tyson, I done a bit more research on it and psychologists, and there's a reason why they say, you know, firm handshake and eye contact.
Even more than that, there's about tightening the top lip. There's a few other things with your facial features that you can do to
or with my daughter, like
encourage certain behaviors.
Yeah. So like with my daughter, I think this is a biological thing, because with my daughter, like say for example, if she does something, like she makes a mess or something, and I make eye contact with her, I'm not shouting or anything. I make eye contact. She automatically looks down and feels like, you know, like she feels like ashamed, like what she's done. And this is not something that I've taught her to do. I've not said look down or something. I think it's like, like
Robe.
in the animal kingdom, like dogs when they make eye contact, that kind of stuff, and they like.
I try not to look at dogs, man.
I don't like dogs. I don't look at dogs.
They say that when you're getting chased by a dog, don't make eye contact. Just avoid the eyes. Try look away.
You're getting chased by a dog, don't make eye contact. Don't run, but run. If you don't run, they'll get you. If you run, they'll carry on chasing you. You can't win.
Straight up across the road.
I had a bad experience with dogs when I was younger. This is why I don't like dogs. I'm traumatized. When I was about 6-7 years old, I had one dog chase me for at least half an hour. It just didn't stop. And I just remember crying for my mum saying, this dog won't stop chasing me. I don't remember. Maybe I'm exaggerating the time, but it was a long time.
Yeah.
Kids can run a
very long time.
It probably felt like half an hour, man.
And you know what? Kids can run a long time.
Kids can run a long time. When I was a kid, I used to run around for ages. Never used to feel tired. Nowadays, it's not the same. The body does not function the same. But what do we think about perception with our families and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was coming.
See, that's the difficult bit.
That's the main one, right? Especially in our culture, Asian culture.
Because you can't be yourself. Well, you are kind of yourself, but sometimes they kind of put you down.
I'll start from this, yeah. When we were younger and our parents used to tell us there's this person of this ex-Asian family, be like their son, be that well-behaved. Do you know what I mean? So that's their perception of that child.
But you knew that child was the devil.
When that child came into our house, for example, he was behaving like some innocent, mad, you know what I mean? Some proper innocent, like lovely, fair guy, whatever. But growing up, we knew them outside. And I used to think like, look, it's mad how you think this of this person, but we know in actuality what they're like. Yeah. And we know not to be like that person.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And thankfully with some of them, like the way it happened in society, it turned out like now for that same person now, they would not give that example. But back then they did. And we kind of knew them things from that time.
I mean, perception in front of parents is, I think, the most difficult. Parents or family, I think it's even more difficult than how you perceive because you can like I said, you can create characters outside of your home, but people that have raised you and they know who you are, they know your personality, they know when you lie, what faces you make when you that kind of stuff. You can't really be.
Do you know what? I can give you like another dimension to what you're saying. Yeah, obviously you guys come from a conventional family. I don't, right? So I've not lived with my dad consistently enough for him to know me inside out. So when me and my dad are talking, or when I've done something and he doesn't like it, he basically, the examples that he gives and the opinion he has of me was from when I was a child. And obviously I'm not a child now, and it's quite frustrating because that's the only perception he's got of me. But look, people change. But that perception, I've completely lost my train of thought now that what Gar's got.
He stood there, yeah. He's like, "Can I bring this drink in?" And I was just looking there and laughing.
And he brings the drink.
I'm trying to listen to you as well.
My bad.
Can you repeat that?
Sorry.
Like, right. He's trying to say.
Right. The point on parenting, right? You guys have grown up with your parents and they have a perception of you. They know exactly what you're like inside out. The point that I was trying to make is me and my dad, like, we've not consistently lived with one another. So he doesn't know me inside out, but we have certain conversations and he tells me, you're my son, I know what you're like. And the example he gives, it's like, well, yeah, maybe I was like that when I was like 8-9 years old, but I'm a grown man now. That's not me.
But I think when it comes to perception within the family, a large part of it is respect as well. You cannot truly be yourself, your loud self, in front of your mother or father like that because you respect them in a way.
That's why my dad's got that perception. When I was young, I used to crack jokes and stuff with him. Like, I used to be quite open, but now I'm like proper mature in the way that I approach things. But there's like, when I speak to him, it's almost like there's some part of him that thinks I'm still that guy or that child, but I'm not.
It's strange because sometimes when I sit with my uncles, right, and they're explaining something to me in, for example, say business, and within me, I already know that what they're saying to me in this day and age is expired or if it's still relevant, or if I know that or not. Yeah. So I could know more than them, but with me, I just listen, right? Like I'm not that kind of guy to like turn back to them and say, okay, nah, it's not like that now, kind of thing. I know that it would help them, but I'm just like, I don't want to like disrespect them.
It's a respect thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that I do that.
Yeah,
I tend to.
I definitely should be doing that.
I don't
It
do that.
helps.
I'm quite direct.
Yeah, you should be.
But
Yeah.
But I say it respectfully when
No,
I'm direct.
but
I don't
no.
say no. I think you're
But
wrong.
what
I
I'm trying
say
to say,
I basically give a counter argument, but
Yeah.
in a nice way, a respectful
but
way.
what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say is, they don't know that you've already thought about these things, or you already know these things. So sometimes it could be even the basic of things when they're trying to explain something. But you know yourself that you know this thing, but you can't just say to them, "Oh, I know this already."
You know what? I've worked in teams. Well, I've managed a team where some of the team members are quite a lot older than me,
Yeah.
and obviously, managing someone who's a lot older than you, who has a lot more experience in life, and who thinks that they know how to do things better than you do, it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Similar to like
Yeah.
speaking to your parents or
Yeah.
something.
Well, you know what the repercussion of that is? Their view of you is that because they're telling you this stuff, they think you don't know. In their view, you're less knowledgeable. Like they think you're probably a bit dumb. Like for example, for a 26-year-old guy, you should know these things already. They're grilling it into you, lecturing you,
Yeah.
but you already know these things. But because of that knowledge gap, they're just like, he doesn't know. He's a bit dumb.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Indirect perception is is interesting as well. Like when I was on the road or on the verge of getting married, my now father-in-law eventually, at that point, at the beginning point, said no to me. Said, no, you can't marry my daughter, because my dad, he's married 3 times, right? So he assumed that I was going to be like my dad. There was another situation as well before this where her extended family came around. So her grandparents came around to my house, and I love her nanny. Yeah, her nanny's a nice person. Yeah, she came. Her nana Abu came as well. Yeah, her granddad. When they left, they said, no, you can't marry him. They haven't got any shiny things in their house.
Yeah, I mean,
mad.
that's something that obviously is like a generational thing.
I say to my wife now, because her grandma, her nanny, hasn't been to my house. Bring her
Yeah.
to my house. I got a lot of shiny things now.
I mean, it's a similar thing with my situation because my wife is from the city and we're Punjabi
like
speaking
straight
from the
desi,
village.
We're like village, man.
So there's a lot of like sometimes when I said before, when I'm at home, I'm myself, and myself, like the real me, is quite annoying, and it's quite like I'm a bit of a troll and a bit annoying, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
especially like with your siblings and stuff. You're
yeah,
just like,
I just love annoying people, yeah. It's just what it is. But I always annoy my wife by calling her like city girl.
that's a personality trait of you, which it's a star thing, but you're the technical one.
Yeah,
And the technical ones, they're the annoying ones. And
Yeah.
if you look at your field is technical as well.
yeah. But
A bit of
Yeah, so,
psychology in there.
with the thing that you were saying about the shiny stuff and whatever, obviously we have certain expectations of what a family should be like, and we speak about city folk in a certain way. They probably speak about village folk or townspeople in another kind of way. But then when we got married, I realized that there's not much that's different. It's just the language, and obviously I kind of, speaking to my extended family, I kind of got the perception of how they perceive us.
Bro, deep down, I think a lot of people can get on, but it's like you say, it's the perception thing. It's that thing about lokya genge.
Yeah.
They have to uphold that. So if I'm going to for a rishta somewhere, for example, we have to set a certain perception. And if they come to us, for example, they have to set a certain perception on us. So you know what I mean? And it's all that thing about lokya genge, man.
Yeah, because it's all about, with Asian families, it's all about what other people will
But
say.
on a surface level, like, I think you can get not surface level, sorry, a deeper level. You can get on with people. If you live with people, you can get on with.
Definitely, man.
You realize
Definitely.
their true self when you live with those people.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. Like
Yeah.
there's little bit differences in how people do things and how people
Yeah.
talk and stuff.
Yeah.
But
100%.
essentially
I think if you
it's
keep to the fundamentals, like the religion, for example, knowledge, education, I think you can get on with people.
Yeah.
You can never really know someone unless you've spent a significant amount of time with them. Like I've been through so many people, right? And there's people that aren't in my life anymore, but I wish sometimes that they actually knew me
Yeah.
for me rather than know me a bit and maybe get like an opinion of me through someone else.
Yeah.
Because when someone else gives an opinion of you, it's usually like filtered and no one gets the whole story, right? And there's always two sides to a story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think I've always, most of my life, had the perception of being like this dumb sort of character, like a goofy, dumb. Do you know what I mean?
But that's, you know,
Dopey kind of character.
this is what I'm saying about, you know, when we're, for example, sat with the elders and we don't not answering back in a way can be quite wrong, but that's a deeper discussion. But when we don't communicate our thoughts,
Yeah.
they'll think we're dumb.
Yeah.
So that's the perception we've sort of given to them just
Yeah.
because of our lack of communication with them.
Exactly, yeah. And I think recently where they've seen the improvement, because, you know, when we work and stuff, we improve our functional skills, our speaking skills, our communication skills,
Yeah.
where they've seen the improvement in, like, you
Yeah.
know, that kind of
Like-
kind of stuff. And I think they're just realizing now that these kids, they're just like, they're just elevating. Like,
Yeah,
it's
they're
not,
whiz kids, bro.
yeah.
Like, the other day I was sat and I was getting a mad lecture on you need to get married, this, that, the other. Like, it must have been like an hour's lecture, yeah. I was just there, you know, lalapala, just sitting there listening. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
I've
like,
never heard that before, but
Lalapala is
it
like,
means
don't know anything.
like in your own world, yeah.
Like, yeah, but like, no, I was listening, but they think that I've never thought of these things myself when I probably have like 5 years ago.
What do you think the perception is of you not getting married? I'm sure you get
No,
a
no,
lot
they-
of
they-
different opinions, not just
yeah.
from your family.
I think the perception
Well, the truth
comes
is,
from your circle as well, innit? Because, say, for example, if they compare you to other people who aren't married, they're like, oh, that guy's off the rails, so that means you're going to be off the rails.
yeah.
And then that's how they...
No, but with families, they have a certain expectation where, okay, by 28, you should be married, you'll probably have a baby, and you'll probably have a house, or you're doing your own thing. So they want to... And I understand this bit as well, where like the marriage is, at the end of the day, it's half your deen, right? It's a foundation. I'm pretty sure when you got married, you came out of university, you got married, it stabilized a lot of things for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that stability. So by the age of 26, 28, for example, you need to be married in our culture, especially, and you need to have that foundation set. You need to have that stability so you can go, you can propel, you can go on and do other things.
Yeah.
You can do things that bring value to that life, that family. As Asians, we're quite family orientated. So if you're getting married at 32, 34, 35 or whatever, you're if you have a child at say 40 years old, how are you going to go out and play with him? How are you going to go kick ball?
Yeah.
Your knees
How are you
going to
relate to him?
You got
You're like a generation
you've
behind.
got patellofemoral syndrome. What are you going to do?
Of these things
Yeah.
you tell yourself.
No,
This
this is
time is
No,
taken
no,
away.
these
of
are
course,
facts.
these are
Yeah,
things
yeah.
that obviously I think to myself, but obviously when I'm getting that lecture, they don't know that these are things I've thought of years ago.
Yeah.
And I have my timeline. Obviously, I'm working towards it.
Yeah.
But it comes down to communication. Man.
Yeah.
Do you wish you would have worked towards it earlier? Or are you okay with your current timeline?
I think
How old are you? You're 2 years younger than me,
I'm
right?
26.
26.
I was married at 25.
Yeah, I would have
You
liked
were
to have
married at
been married at
25.
25.
Yeah.
But things work out in the way where at 25, bro, I just graduated, I think.
Yeah.
And I was in search of a job. I probably didn't have the funds to go and invest all that into
Yeah.
a wedding. So my circumstances,
As long as your intention is there,
yeah,
there's no point going out of pocket too much and like kind of ruining your plans.
yeah,
Just like if you've got a cushion of like 3 or 4 years
yeah.
and you've got a plan in
Bro, in
mind.
their day, it was a lot easier because, for example, with arranged marriages, or like cousin marriages, yeah, they were set for them. It
Yeah.
was decided years ago. Okay, you're gonna marry this
Yeah.
person. There was a small wedding. They'd even have like 2 brothers and 2 sisters, like from another.
We mentioned on
your
wedding
crisscross
wedding
kind of-
pod as well. Child's born. Yep, this child is going to
Yeah.
marry your child.
So this
They know.
brother, this
Yeah,
brother
from an
would
early
get
age.
married to her, and this brother would get married to her, and they'd have a wedding on the same day, and that's it. It was done early on,
Yeah.
and get on with it. But we live in this society now. Things are different. I might not want a wife from back home. In fact,
Yeah.
I don't want a wife from back home. Yeah.
And it's
But for me, communicating that to the elders, I need to be doing that.
I think you would suit a wife from back home. You
No,
know that.
you
No,
know,
I wouldn't. Not anymore. When I was younger,
he is a bit old school, isn't he, in his thoughts?
Yeah,
What do you
yeah,
think?
very old school.
But you know what it is? You know when you say that. So when you say I
I'm
don't
a lot
want,
more tolerant now, bro. Trust
Okay,
me.
okay.
so you know when you say that you want a wife from back home, the perception of I'm sat here and my perception is different to what an elder person hearing this might perceive it as.
Yeah, yeah.
So they might think like, look at this guy. He doesn't want a wife from back home because he wants a white girl from England
yeah.
because he's a British boy
yeah.
and he's lost his culture, and that's probably what they're thinking.
yeah.
But that's not the case. It's more about you're going to spend a lifetime with someone. You want to be able to relate to them. You want
Yeah.
to be able to have a nice, loving family
yeah.
and a stable home. Obviously, that's like a lifelong
And obviously,
thing.
their
vision.
perception of like for example, females back home is they're all they're all innocent, for example, or they'll be like they'll make the perfect housewife. I might not want my wife to be a housewife.
And girls in England can't cook roti. Or something like that.
My wife was telling me this saying that we use all the time. It's a disgusting saying. When you get married, when a girl gets married off, she can only come back to the house as a corpse or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about.
No,
Like
rephrase it, man.
Her honor is in, if a girl gets married off, her honor is in the only time she can come back to the house, not like to visit, but like come back permanently, is as a corpse.
Oh,
It's a also Urdu saying.
yeah, but
Yeah.
तो उसी करनी होगी.
Yeah. Oh man, that's disgusting.
आप उसी how do you say
No,
that?
allow it.
I'm not
Allow it.
gonna-
Don't push
see. That's not even Urdu,
आप
man.
उसी
What is
का-
that?
That's not Urdu.
अगर
bro.
ये लड़की उस खानदान में गई है तो वो अब उसी खानदान की है.
Yeah. Like
Yeah?
she's
Yeah,
dead.
good
To,
enough.
If you come
Can you-
back,
can you
it's
imagine,
a
like-
dishonor and it's a disrespect if that woman gets, say, divorced or whatever to come back.
forget
into
about
this house.
divorce. Can you imagine?
Or
Yeah.
have a fight.
You know,
even.
the way I see it is, if a sister of mine gets married off, now she has two families. Not she's minus one family and now it's got another family. That's not how I think. I think of it like my wife now has her parents, who are, she's grown up with her entire life at the end of the day. And then she has us. She has a new family. So now she's got two families. But some people see it as this, my daughter, my sister, whatever, they're temporarily in this house. So let's like give them all the love and attention, because tomorrow they're going to be going off to another house, and you know what I mean? It's like, that's it. We're dead to her kind of thing. It's a weird, I think it's really weird. I think it's quite a weird thing.
Yeah, I just need to clarify that that corpse view kind of thing is not ours. Like, we don't stand
It's an
by
Indian. It's more of an Indian
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Because like
This is this stuff like that. Yeah, it leads to so say you know how, okay, you guys will know a lot about this, or you've read about this probably as well. A woman getting married into a house and the husband's abusive, or the in-laws are abusive towards the woman, and she's hidden it for years. And the reason why she's hidden it is because she don't want to damage her family's honor. But she's even scared of telling her parents. And even if she did tell her parents, they'll be like, no, keep it within the house, or just don't report it anywhere, because it's our izzat in question. It's our respect in question. It's what people would think of this family. The daughter's gone to this home.
Perception.
Bro, that daughter has been abused, and that's the reason why she probably got divorced and came home. Yeah. But they'll say, oh, what will people say? You got divorced. It was your fault. This, that, the other. When in actuality, people don't know the facts, bro. People don't know the details.
And I think like the perception. If you bring it back to perception, like, for example, the way you treat your sister or whoever, and then when they get married off, the way the family treats her, the other family, like the in-laws, they will look at that and say, they will get a perception of, she's respected in her family. But if she's just like some housemaid in the family, they're going to be like, well, her own family treat her like this, so what's wrong with us treating her any different? Do you know what I mean? So you have to set the perception of others, especially if you're going for a rishta. If people come over for a girl's rishta, you have to like be a little bit extra in like being nice to her and stuff, and just to show them that, you know, she's well respected, she's well loved, she's got a home, basically, you know what I mean? So it's all about perception and putting that kind of perception in other people's minds.
Yeah, like even if a rishta came to yours or you went for a rishta, people would they'll tidy up the house, they might rearrange certain furniture, you know, just to give that
my
perception.
dad made a when we were getting married with my wife, because I had the wedding in Leicester and there was going to be a lot of guests, my dad made an extension.
Yeah. And it's not even a bad thing that you just want to show people. You're actually trying to show them that, look, like, we're taking, like, you've got some cracks somewhere in the wall or whatever, you're painting over that, you're sealing it. You want to create a home. You want to show that this person's going to come into our house, we're making that environment for him or her. Yeah, we're taking that extra step to, you know, go above and beyond for her. Like, if like your dad made an extension, that's like going out of his way. Like, he didn't have to spend thousands of pounds doing that, but just to like make the other family and make the daughter of the other household feel more welcome, he's taken that extra step.
100%. 100%. It's true. And you can think of many examples, man. And that's why they say treat everyone with respect and treat everyone kindly, because you never know what's going on in the background.
Yeah, everyone. Well, I would say family, because remember we spoke about the workplace and having different
family,
characters.
Workplace, everywhere, man. Everywhere. This is applicable everywhere.
I don't know about that.
Trust me, man. It is 100%. It is applicable everywhere.
You know what? I used to think like that as well, but when I started working for bigger companies, I realized that there's a lot of sharks and there's a lot of competition, and they see it as competition and they see you as competition. So it's a little bit of a battlefield for me. The workplace is a little bit of a chess game.
Yeah, I wouldn't always morph into how people are at my workplace. Like, bro, at workplace, you get some real snaky people that are like trying to undercut. Then I see your face, they something else, they're saying something else behind your back to your manager. Yeah, I could never ever see myself being that person. I could never, bro. That comes. See, there's perception, and then it comes down to character. That's not in our character. Yeah. So the character we don't necessarily change. It's the perception that we're able to, you know, modify.
I have people at the workplace. We can quickly touch on the workplace again. That have done the same role as me and maybe progressed into another role, and have almost behaved in a way like they've forgotten what their previous role was like, if you know what I mean. They've forgotten what position they used to be in, and they've kind of, like, they've treated me a certain way where I thought, hang on, how can you treat me this way all of a sudden when you've gone through what I'm going through now? Do you know what I mean? So
I think for me it's more the managers and the guys at the top, you know, like, it's how they treat me. My colleagues or like graduates and stuff, obviously I'm not going to bully them. I'm not going to like put them down or make them feel like they're under me or anything. I hate that, you know. I felt like that before. So when I do have a team, I always get praised, like, you don't feel like you're our manager or something, always. And when I left a company, at the end they asked me to do a speech, and it was like the managers were horrible to the staff. So when I left, I was open enough to, you know, in the speech, and I was open enough to sort of stand up for my colleagues and say, look, you guys need to treat them better, basically. And it sort of created the perception of even though if you look at the hierarchy, I'm like here and they're like here somewhere. But it just created like people's heads, like, we can actually talk to these people in this way because Waka has, because he's broken that barrier. And I break a lot of barriers in the workplace. So like, if a team leader or manager or something, like in the company that I work for now, one of the managers, yeah, he's Indian, and he's a little bit racist. So he he aligns himself with like certain political parties, and he's quite open about it. And he kind of said a few things to a colleague of mine, so I confronted him. And even though he was my direct sort of manager kind of thing, you know, I had to create the perception in his head that, you know, I might be under you, but let's be 100% real. Outside of all these like titles and job titles and stuff, he's not really that much above me, if you know what I mean. So I kind of bring him down a notch, and that's what I mean. I don't mean like putting people down and being horrible, but I mean like understanding who is the snake and where to cut the grass and how to deal with certain people.
100%. Respect works both ways.
Yeah.
If you treat me well, I will treat you well.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I'm kind of saying like we have bullies, right? Yeah. Bullies, or people that speak to people a certain way, where it's not reciprocated. Like if I'm, for example, being horrible to you and you're not being horrible to me, that shouldn't happen. Like if you're picking on someone for the way that they look, the way that they dress, there might be a reason why they dress that way. There might be a reason why they look like that, if you know what I mean. So that's what I mean. Like when I was at school, right? People used to say, "Oh, you're really skinny." But what they didn't understand was, when I was at school, I used to have 1 meal a day, and that's all that my family could afford. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's little things like that. Like perception is important. You might look at me and think, "Oh, this guy's really skinny," but no, that wasn't the case. It was because most days I was going hungry. So that's what I mean with, you never know what someone's going through.
I think the what you were saying about being kind to everyone, I think generally that should be the first sort of option.
It should be
always be the first option to like
be
kind, especially with customers. And you work for a big consultancy. I don't know if you have the same views about these big giants, like these big consultancies, because I've worked for quite a few of them, and there's a lot of lying involved, and they kind of indirectly tell you to like lie in front of the customer just to save the project or whatever. And obviously
that happens. But I think when it comes to us specifically as Muslims, we got you know, internally we have to be kind to people. Yeah, we don't want to lie to people. So these are values that, because of our religion, we can take into the workplace, and it's for the better. Like when you say about lying to save a project, I mean, stuff like that.
That's not something I do, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
But by lying, you mean, so basically, if a client has this, so if, for example, in my field, if I was not creative or I was not into design, and if a client said to me, "Can you do Photoshop?" Yeah. Or can you work on these user interfaces in Sketch? Yeah. If I was not skilled in those softwares, me lying would be, yeah, I can. I'm proficient in them. I've got X years of experience. Yeah. But the way I think, and when it comes to other software, the way I see it is like, the way I would say is, I know of this software and I can learn it. Yeah. But a lot of people, what they do is, I know that software. I've been working on it for years.
I'm probably guilty of that early on.
Yeah. But the thing is, within like me,
for
example,
I was saying, Mike, if I can give an example, yeah. Say for example, the customer has a bit of a change request, yeah, and you do the change, and it takes you 2 hours. You go to your project manager, you say, "This took me 2 hours to do." They put down 3 days. So they're going to charge the customer 3 days worth of work, even though I know I've done it in 2 hours. Yeah. So then you confront the project manager, and he says, "Well, anyone else would have done it in 3 days." They're trying to hype you up a little bit, like, "You're a genius. You've done it in 2 hours." But you know for a fact that anyone would have done it in 2 hours. But then they overcharge the customer by saying it actually took him 3 days. Yeah. You know, that kind of stuff.
That's sometimes that's actually kind of out of your control as well.
Yeah. That's why I don't work for like these big consultancies anymore. I work for myself because I have control over that. Yeah. I can't. There was a part of me, like, you know, do you remember when you came out of uni and you watched like I don't know, Suits or something on Netflix, and you're like, oh man, imagine working in those big Canary Wharf, big glass buildings and big offices. You know, that's probably the life. But then when you experience a little bit of it, a little part of you inside kind of dies. Like, oh wow, this is a dog pit. This is like, you know, a Shark Tank kind of thing. This is not what I expected. So then I had to kind of distance myself. And
Yeah, it's a tricky one, man, because you know, when I was saying about the client, yeah. So if a client comes to you and he says, "This is our need," I mean, it's tricky because you can never really say no to a client like that. But you also gotta, like, you know yourself, if I get this project or I get this task, I can go away and I can learn about it. I can do it. So how would you approach that situation? So
my crutch is I always make notes here, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I've noted this down. I'll get back to you. That's the simplest thing I do.
But if it's something I have some sort of inkling about, I'll say yeah. I'll say yeah, I can do it, but not in the sense that, okay, yeah, I know how to use this software, but just for them, if they say, can you do this task? I'll say, yeah, I can do this task. I'll take it upon me to go away and use my own time to go and either learn that software or spend a longer time doing that software, but I'll get the task done.
Yeah.
So that in a way, it's not lying, I guess.
I mean, like, another example is, like, say for example, you know in your head there's a better solution to something for a customer, and they're asking you what's the best solution, but your company is partnered with Adobe for e-signatures, for example, and AJ's your mate, so you're gonna there's a conflict of interest, and this happens quite a lot in things. That's why they say, don't tell them what you, as a techie guy, don't tell them like what you think is the best solution. Always come back to the PMs and come back to that. It's where they can make the most money.
Yeah, and
so
I don't like that though.
That's why we set up our own. You know, we've got Flair, which is we're gonna tell the viewers soon. But what that is, and that's why we've got our own sort of design agencies. We've got our own. I've got my own consulting company as well. It's so that
it comes down to ethics, right?
Yeah.
There's some things you shouldn't budge on, like with that, because if a solution is great for this client, why would you want to go and tell them some backward solution that might build a company an extra £5,000, but it's not the right solution? You're damaging the long-term relationship with that client.
Yeah, and plus it's not the best solution. Like, if they ask you for the best solution,
this is the thing. It's not the best solution, right? In 3 months or 6 months, it might go tease up. But if you tell them the good solution, it'll cost them slightly more or less. Or sorry, your employer, they might be able to charge higher or lower for it, but it's the right solution, and because of that right solution, that company has built a trust with you. They'll give you some other business. So I see all the time, man. As consultants, you see this a lot, man. Like, that's
why I believe in, like, ethical consulting. And there's not very much, like, you know, all these small companies where they go to the Hitachis and the IBMs and the I don't want to mention your company, but they go to all these big fishes thinking that these guys probably have the best experience and the best consultants. That's not true. I would suggest to do a little bit of research and go to, like, smaller firms who have a more vested interest
and they're more enthusiastic about the project as well, because they want to win business. If they perform well on this business, they'll get other projects, so they have that hunger. It's like the carrot and stick thing. These startups, for example, they need to survive. They need to pay for their employees. They need to build good relationships. They're not always going to stay a startup. They're going to grow. And in order for them to do that, they have to build these long-term relationships. Corporates, or if they screw a company over for 100 million, they'll get over it in a couple of weeks.
Just do this. Go to any big corporation, any big consulting firm that you want to join. Just Google the amount of court cases or whatever current active court cases against that company, and you'll be surprised at the amount of customers who are taking them to court for something or another, money thing or something or another. It's quite surprising, you know. The companies that I've worked for, they've had active sort of court cases whilst I'm working there. They've called me in on the project to like deliver the minimal viable
Man,
product.
a lot of management consultants, they're just not up to it, man. Like, it's difficult to give away like inside secrets. Maybe it's a podcast for another episode, because I have to kind of think about what I say on a podcast, because if my employers say they turn around and look at this, I don't know, it could have certain ramifications to my career at the end of the day. But some of the inside secrets are that everyone knows and they're out there in the public domain, is that if I say a level 2 consultant, if there's a level 2 consultant and the role that the clients ask for is like a level 4 or level 5, they'll ship out that level 2 consultant. He might not have the capability, but they'll ship out that consultant to the company and they'll charge him for that level 4 or 5 rate. Which is mental, and the client is not getting that value. I
would say to anyone who's graduated now and they're starting their new jobs and they want to progress or whatever, don't let your company's category, like where they place you in, like for example, recently I had a junior CRM consultant under my wing who was shadowing me, and I said to her like try get this junior removed from your name firstly, don't go to a client and say I'm a junior consultant, because clients are not going to like that. So I spoke to her manager and I said, can you please just remove all you got to do is just remove the junior, because it's causing some issues. And so they create a policy where any new consultant that comes on board doesn't come on as a junior, because it creates a bad image.
Junior, and there's other titles like early career.
And these are not, and I wouldn't let a company sort of decide where you are.
And companies are moving away from that as well, though, because if someone's job title is an early career consultant and they've pitched that to a client who they're billing higher for, it won't work. They'll lose out at the end of the day. But yeah, man, the discussion is digressing a little bit, but I feel.
But we are gonna have a few episodes on our journeys and what we're doing outside of our work, and any kind of companies that and other bids, because I don't think they know what we're. They probably have a perception of us that we've got a lot of time on our hands and we just do podcasts, but we're actually doing a lot. Like, we have a lot going on outside of our workplaces. We've got different revenue streams, and we want to talk about these building these streams and stuff in future podcasts. But
quick question, we'll take a couple of minutes only. Have you guys seen the Netflix documentary Don't Fudge with Cats?
Oh my god,
you know what, recommended that.
Watch it.
I don't want to watch it.
Watch it, because when it comes to perception, that's very important, because the guy who killed those cats, it starts with
apparently
don't spoil it.
Basically, he did everything to basically become famous, but in a way where he didn't get caught. I don't want to give it away, but watch it.
But I've heard that it's very disturbing, because it's quite.
It doesn't show you anything disturbing, to be honest.
Does it show you the killing of?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
No,
okay, I think we'll leave it at that. We'll leave that recommendation at the end. People can go away, watch it, and make up their own minds.
It's important, because we live in a society where people are doing things to get famous through perception, right? You go on Instagram, you see people living these lavish lives, these happy lives, but in reality, it's not the case.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we had a cracking discussion today, man.
It was.
It was a really good discussion. There were a few bullet points that I've intentionally left out because I feel like they should have their own podcast. So yeah, we'll sign out now.
Cool. Sayonara. That does mean goodbye, right?
What?
Sayonara.
In what language?
Sayonara, it means goodbye.
In what language?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I believe it means goodbye.
That reminds me of...
Sayonara.
Huh?
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Wait, let me see. Is it Japanese?
It sounds like
Probably.
Sayara.
Japanese.
Probably.
It sounds like Sayara, Sayara. That song.
I don't know what that is.
It was on your wedding.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't choose the playlist.